where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming Live by Barrett Kunyan.
Well, here we are again, and we have our beautiful brother Tony Tredgold and his associate friend, beautiful Jack. Is I think he's there somewhere. I'm sure he'll show up in a minute, brother. Brothers, oh, there he is. Hi, Jack. Mwah. Good to see you. Good to see you both. Well, today, our beautiful viewers, we are going to discuss a beautiful hot topic. It's called the Pyramid Code and the rise of the inner Christ, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. And if I may, because not that long ago, Tony actually shared with myself a message, which I've summarized it, and I've taken and regurgitated the information, which I'm going to share with our beautiful viewers now. So here goes. Today we journey beyond time to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Not a tomb, but a sacred instrument aligned with Mintaka. I hope I've pronounced it well. In Orion's belt. Within its chambers, monatomic gold ormus was used not for the material gain, but for the transformation. This alchemical process birthed the Rosicrucian path and elevated initiates into the Shekinah. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. The Shekinah, where they communed with higher realms and returned as messengers of divine truth. Now we reclaim that legacy, not through temples or substances, but by raising the inner oil through the presence of preparation and purpose. The Christ within is not a myth, but a birthright waiting to be remembered. This episode shares that remembrance and invites you to rise naturally, safely, and with grace. Thank you so much, Tony. That message was well received. Well received. I'm just seeing if I've left anything out. Nope, I think that's pretty much it, my lovely brother. So I'll hand over the mic to you, Tony. How you're looking well, brother. Thank you very much. Where do you want to start this stimulating conversation on this topic, brother? Where shall we start?
With the pyramids. Now, what everybody wants to know the answer to is how they were built. Mm-hmm. I've had a few visions of it, and I had another one this morning. The reason why the pyramids were built in the first place was when you look at Orion in the sky, if you don't know Orion, I suggest you look it up. I can't demonstrate what it looks like, but the Giza Plateau mirrors Orion, his belt. And I dare say if you go to other sites in relation to Orion, you would find something built there, even if it's only rubble. There would be something, because they were creating basically heaven on earth. This is what they were doing back in the golden age. Now, when were they built? It's hard to say. Now, Santos, in one of his presentations, said that in one of the pyramids, they'd found a list of pharaohs going back 35,000 years. So the only thing I can surmise is they were built in a golden age, round about 36 to whatever many thousand years ago. Forget the timeline that the historians tell me. That's just a made-up thing. They haven't a clue. Now, as to how they were built, at the time when the Commissions were there were giants still about. Probably are today, I don't know. But anyway, they used the giants, obviously, to start with. They were carrying the blocks and placing them where they were told to place them. When they got higher up and it became dangerous to carry blocks, they were using levitation in the form of sound. Now, the Tibetans did this as well. If you look at their monasteries, they're built on sides of mountains. Everybody's always said, how the heck did they get the stone blocks up there? Well, it's the same principle. It's with sound. You play a certain frequency to a certain size of stone and it raises itself off the floor. This has been proved. Now, they knew how to do it properly, obviously, but this is the only way I can see that it was actually built in the way it was. And also the entire population of Kemet were all willingly drafted in to help with the labours. There were no slaves. The Egyptians did enslave people later on, but when they were in the golden age, there would be no slaves. So that's basically how the pyramids were built. What were they built for? Well, where were they built? Now, this is an interesting thing. I watched a part of a video the other day, and it was saying that, I mean, I'm not a builder, but before a building is made, they have to survey the ground to see if it can withstand the weight of the structure they want to place on it. Now, you imagine the size of the pyramids, how much weight is on the floor when one of the pyramids is built. It's phenomenal amount of tonnage.
Yeah.
So they must have known all this. And not only that, there are things below the pyramid. I know that because, see if I get, you're on about pronouncing names, see if I get his right. Abdul Hakim Awiyan. He was one of the original wisdom keepers that have come from the ancient age, and it's been passed on from wisdom keeper to wisdom keeper, the knowledge of what happened when the golden ones were there, basically. And sadly, he died. I think he died about 2015, something like that. And he's passed it on to his son, who is NEXT. It's a funny name, but of course, they're in Egypt. Now, Abdul, when he was a child, he was saying on one of his podcasts, one of his videos, and you can look these up on YouTube, I'm assuming they're still there, that when he was a child, he was born within the site of the Giza pyramids. When he was a child, the pyramids and the tunnels below them were his playground. So he actually went into them. He didn't, not that I know of, he didn't actually say what was there and one thing and another. But we know that there are things below the pyramid now because he actually brought that knowledge back to us, thankfully. Just a minute, I'll just have a little drink.
Yeah. Can I just throw in a quick question, if I may, brother, without disrupting the flow? That's phenomenal. I mean, I never thought about, reference to what you just said, the actual weight of the structure, how well the ground is taking the weight. Now, you mentioned something below. Could you reference to like the ley lines, because surely there's some energy grid underneath there as well, right? And there's also tunnels. So if you could maybe expand a little bit on that as well.
Yes. Well, the reason why they were built where they were built is because it's sort of a node where a ley line, which is a power line, they're also called dragon lines, actually comes out of the earth and goes back to its source. It's a very powerful point, and there were 3 of them at this point. That's why they knew that that's where it had to be in relation to building heaven on earth, i.e. Orion's belt. So what happens, and this is really interesting, I only saw this the other day. Now, the reason why a pyramid is like that is because when this energy comes out of the ground, it goes like that. So it's an inverse pyramid. As the ley line energy comes out of the ground, it dissipates like that. Are you with me?
Yeah, pointed. Yeah.
Right. Now, you invert that upside down, and what happens in a certain point, that shift out does that, and it goes and it crosses. And where it crosses was built the King's Chamber, what they call the King's Chamber, but it weren't. It was the ultimate inner sanctum of the temple. Basically, the pyramids were temples. There were never burials. They never buried anybody in a pyramid. It would have been such a waste. Now, where that actually crossed, in the in a certain point in the chamber was an altar, which you can now see, and they call it the box that held a sarcophagus. Well, that's a load of rubbish. Now, they had to move this altar because people were going in and they were laying in that one spot where the fields diverge and create a point, and it were killing people. And the ones that were lucky enough to survive were just going absolutely mad. They never gained their sensibilities again for the rest of their lives. So they moved it. Now somewhere, and I don't ask me where it was, I wrote this years ago and it's in one of my notes in my room, but I have the actual degree at which it was the altar was actually set to attain this point. Now, why did they want this to condense at that one point? And this is the thing. In the pyramid, they have lots and lots of little shafts and tunnels and all sorts, and people have speculated that it's to look up at a star, which it could well be. That could be part of it. But also, right next to the pyramids when they were first built in Kemet, the River Nile was right at the bottom, touching the plateau on which the pyramids were built. They channeled water from the Nile and it went into the pyramid, I would assume by osmosis, and they were using it in which to manufacture monoatomic gold. As I said to you, they were boiling 2 acids. I believe it was sulfuric acid and nitric acid, and they were boiling pure gold in this mixture in a crucible, and the crucible, when it got hot enough, glowed a rosy red. And that's where the name of the Rosicrucians come from. So the Rosicrucians basically have come down through the ages as the Golden Age Cometians. But obviously, because the age has changed now and we're in a very low age, it has been twisted. But originally, in the Golden Age, the Rosicrucians, they were perfect spiritual beings. They had the Christ consciousness, so they couldn't do any wrong, really, because once you're there, you can't do wrong. I can, because I'm a pilot, but that doesn't matter. So when this was actually made, they brought the initiate into the room. Now, bear in mind, this initiate, and according to Ken Scott, Pythagoras was one of them. They had to go through 2 schools, and each school would teach them the left-hand side of Horus, which was the negative aspect of creation. I don't mean evil, I mean more the feminine side of nature. They will be taught this, and each school took 12 years to progress through and come out with the actual qualification that said that you were an initiate. The second one was the positive aspect of Horus. That is, well, the positive, basically. They went through that. That was 12 years. And what Ken Scott said is that Pythagoras, it took him 24 years to become ready to be an initiate. Now, he doesn't say that Pythagoras actually did this, because obviously nobody knows, but we do know that the initiate, when he'd gone through this ordeal of 24 years, he was pronounced ready to become someone who would be able to withstand that point of the actual force within his mind. So him being ready, they would take him in, and at this time they'd made monoatomic gold, so the gold transforms from solid pure gold into a white powder. Now, the strange thing is about this, that when it becomes a powder, it loses a portion of its weight. Now, you wouldn't think that, would you? You know, something you put in at one weight usually comes out the same, but monoatomic gold doesn't. So something of the gold is transformed and released. Yeah. Now,
That's interesting.
Then they gave the initiate the powder to ingest. I don't know what they did with it. There's no record of that. Whether they sniffed it or actually drunk it, or I don't know, but or whether they were anointed with it, I don't know. But it was used, and every pyramid that's ever been opened, they found monoatomic gold powder all over the floors. So wherever the pyramids are built, and there are many around the equator of the Earth, you know, there's some in China,
Antarctica,
and Mexico. The pyramids that are built in Mexico, they're for the same purpose. And everyone that's ever been opened, they've found this monoatomic gold there. They've not, and obviously the altar were left. Now, once he was ready, the initiate was placed on the altar, and he would lay down in a specific position, which they knew was where this divergence of the force was. When he lay in that position, the force went into his brain. Well, it just hit into his brain. But because he'd got all this preparation, he'd done 24 years of preparation, he was ready so that the force wouldn't actually kill him or send him mad. And what it did instead is it fired him out, not physically, but his spirit was fired out, and it went up to the Shekinah, which is a very high spiritual plane. Now, one of the things that they were downloading from that time was the zodiac wheel. This wasn't known, but it was up there. And the initiate spent 3 days. Now, bear in mind what they said about Christ when he was crucified. They took him down from the cross and put him in the in the tomb. The first day he was crucified. The second day, nothing happened. The third day, he rose. Now, on the third day, after the initiate was fired into the Shekinah, he would return back into his body, and he would be so weak. His body would be so weak because it had done nothing for 3 days, but lay on this altar. So what they did is the first thing they fed him was something extremely nutritionally rich. And what they used was an oil derived from the fat of the Nile crocodile, and it was called the Mesa. Now, once he was given this Mesa, he was then called the Messiah, the one who received the Mesa on return from the Shekinah. So that's where we get the word Messiah. This is where it came from. And he would then show them or tell them what he'd actually witnessed. And in this way, the majority of what we found out about up there has been brought down here. And it's via this process. This is what they've done over the years. Now, as the just a minute, as the age changed, and Egypt got conquered, as you know, by the Greeks. The Ptolemies, who I think were just goat herders at one point, became the new pharaohs of Egypt, and they set up their dynasty. Now, they found out about this process because obviously all the priests were still there, and they were grilled about what this was for and one thing and another. And they thought to themselves, we could use this to establish our power on earth. So instead of doing it for the benefit of mankind, they were doing it for the benefit of themselves. And these were the people who were referred to as the Illuminati. Exactly. So they did it and sent people up there, and they were ripping things out that shouldn't have come down. And not only that, one time when they were up, and Ken Scott goes on about this, they actually set up a web around the earth that was to make everyone hypnotic. They were all hypnotized at one point, and this is why we've been down in the lower chambers of the Yuga cycles in Kali Yuga, and none of us knew who we were. It's only in the last, well, in my lifetime, really, that people have realized who they actually are. On a large scale, it's always happened throughout history because you can never suppress anything 100%. So people have woke up, and this is where you got societies like the Golden Dawn and Order of the Temple of the Orient springing up from people who actually remembered what we were. They set this up, but they had to keep everything super secret because this global net was still in operation. Now, in 2012, the elite all said that we will meet again in 2012, and we will re-establish this net around the world, and then we'll go on. Well, they tried to do that, but it didn't work. And the reason why it didn't work is because the age has changed. It's gone from Kali Yuga, and now I think it's Dwapara Yuga, which in our sort of language, Kali is Iron Age, Dwapara is Bronze Age, then you get the Silver Age and the Golden Age at the top. Kali Yuga is always the shortest one of the whole lot because it's so awful. It lasts, basically each age lasts 2,000 years, but when you get to the Golden Age, it's usually Virgo, Leo and Libra that are the Golden Age. Now, another thing, to point out something in accordance with astrology, Virgo was the beginning of the Golden Age. Now, this is where they dissected everything because Virgo picks apart things, sees how it works. They picked apart what they needed to do in order to bring the Golden Age. So then 2,000 years or so later, when they came to the Golden Age, to Leo, they knew what they had to do. And they built the Sphinx. Well, there were many Sphinxes, but originally they were said that they had the dog's head, Anubis, on the Sphinx. Now, that's not true. It was a lion. And the lion was put there in honor of the age of Leo. And you can follow that all the way down the Yuga cycles. When we came, like I said to you the other day, we came to the Minoan age, they were in Taurus. This is where you get the bull worship and the Minotaur underneath in the labyrinth. That's where we get that from. Then we go further down and we get into the Aryan age, and there they were forever carving rams. And this was in honor of the age. We got into Kali Yuga. What did they do there? Have you seen the religious Christians? They've got a fish on the badge on the back of their car wherever they go. That's in honor of Pisces, the fish. So that's where all that comes from. So effectively, the Egyptians were building heaven on earth, and we've got a basic understanding of how it was done and why it was done. Yeah. So I've answered that question as best I can.
Beautiful, brother. We've just got some interesting comments coming through as well, if I may. Brother Shah from Crete, he's raised an interesting component in as far as I know. You said, but you're not sure how people ingested the rock powder. But he mentioned. Oh, hold on a minute. You have a visitor
there. The postman just arrived. They're greeting him, as they usually do.
Brilliant. I was just going to say, yeah, Brother Shah is mentioning using red mercury. Do you have any reference to red mercury being used?
I do, and that comes down to when I was actually in ancient Egypt. See, when I've known for years. Do you want me to tell this story? It's quite a long one.
Okay.
When I first started on this path, I'd been asking for years and years and years. I wanted to know the truth. And one day I was in the library looking for a book, and I saw this book on tarot. I thought, oh, I've heard of that. So I got it out, took it home, and that's where I started. I started studying the tarot. Now, I met a chap who'd been doing the same, and he was further on along the path than I was. He took me under his wing, and I became what I became then, which was Christ conscious at 20. Now, at this time, his partner gave birth to a boy, and sadly, she got PMT, postmenstrual stress or whatever it is, and she attempted suicide twice, and she was stopped by someone on the other side. And I can see her now, actually. Her name was Ola, and she was a woman, a beautiful woman in a blue flowing dress. And she stopped her from going over. She said, "No, it's not your time. It's time for you to go back." Now, me and this chap, being what we were, we thought we'll go and we'll, because she was always with this partner of his at the time, to keep her on the straight and narrow and help her out. And we went in and we asked her to bring her in. She says she's here. And we said, can we ask you some questions? She came back through, well, I'll call her a name, it's easier, through Deborah. She was answering our questions. And I asked one, I says, was I back in the Egyptian dynasty? Because I've always felt this all my life. And she says, yes, you were a Sem priest. I thought, wow. And then because we'd studied Kabbalah for years, we said, what path are we on in this life? And she said to me that I was on the path of the hangman. Now, the path of the hangman is the path where the Christ comes in to the human being and supplants him. This is where you transform on the hangman. If you notice, the man is upside down, coins are falling from his pocket, and he's making a four with his legs. Well, what it means is he has now become the right way up by hanging upside down, because he no longer sees the world as the illusion that it is. He now sees the truth. So in effect, he is the right way up, though to anybody who doesn't know, he is upside down. So this is what she said to me. Now, years and years and years went by, and all I could find out about a Sem priest was that he was in charge of the embalming. So I thought I was a lowly priest who helped embalm the bodies. Now, through Rob Shodine, he actually looked it up when I told him this story a few years ago, and he sent me attachment, and it said that the Sem priest was chosen by Pharaoh to not only pontificate over the embalming of the dead king or the dead in general, but also was the one trusted member who could actually recite the verses correctly when the mummy was interred in its tomb. So I found out from spirit that that's what I was. And just lately, another drink, just a minute, I'm getting dry again. I was sat down one night a few weeks ago, and I thought, well, I don't know what to do now. And then I suddenly got a message, go on there and we'll show you what to watch. So I was clicking through Prime Video for something to watch, and it stopped on a certain program called The Awakening. Now, this is a French series. I think there's 6 episodes in the series, and it's subtitled. And I don't like films with subtitles, but I thought, well, I'll have a look and just see. And I was absolutely riveted. Best thing I've ever watched in my life, because in that series, they were going about not a red. What did this chap say? A red
Mercury.
Red Mercury. It was actually a fungus that grew at that time, and it was red, and it looks like lichen does today. Now, in this video, there's a woman who's I mean, it's all fantasy, but this part was true. The man came through to destroy the woman because he knew what she would become, and wherever he went, he left this red lichen. And it turned out that this lichen is a super drying agent that was known to the Sem priests back in Egypt, and only the Sem priests knew, because the Sem priest was created, and it was a father to son dynasty. The father educated the son to become to become another Sem priest, and so it went on and snowballed. But this one fungus that they actually used in the embalming, nobody knows about, but it was there at that time, and it's said now that it's become extinct. So I honestly don't think it was mercury. I think that's something somebody's just tagged on it. It's a red fungus that they used. And I got that from there. So that's the journey. And also, when I first became Christ conscious, back on in the 19th of March, as I said, I woke up the next morning and I was taken, and I had a vision. I've never had one as clear as this in my life. I was on the steps of a great building in Egypt. I was stood there as a Sem priest. I had my leopard skin uniform on, and next to me was Ramesses II, Ramesses the Great, and he was holding his hands up, and he was doing a morning ritual, and I looked at him, and then he looked at me, and he finished, and we turned and went inside, and this was all in beautiful Technicolor. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Now, you can say it was just a dream, but it was so real to me, I felt like I was actually there. So that's all I can tell you. And that, I believe, is what this chap is saying is red mercury. It's a red fungus. And I mean, I don't know. They probably said it's died out because they don't want anybody getting hold of it because it's so dangerous. It dries everything up it touches.
I will find this red fungus because I'm actually familiar with this red fungus. That I think it still exists, but it's under the wrappers because it obviously falling to the wrong hands. It's not good. But I will look into that because
Please do.
I connected with someone not that long ago regarding this, but that would be a later update, I think. If I may, just coming back to, I don't mean to get you to repeat on certain things, but it's just reference to what you were saying about the significance of the alignment between the Great Pyramid and the star Mintaka, which happens to be in the Orion belt. Now, the question is, how does it relate to the pyramid's true purpose, if that makes sense? Do you understand?
Well, stars are portals, basically. Okay. It's one aspect of astrology I've just touched on, and I need to go down that route a lot further than I have been at the minute. But basically, they're a portal through which a certain force actually comes to Earth. And also, in reverse, they're bringing that force down, and instead of it going out on the land like that, they're channeling it back into the ley line. You see, so it's like a two-way thing. As above, so below. Hermes brought that in for us. As above, so below.
Yes.
What happens up there happens down here. What happens down here is mirrored in heaven.
Right.
So it's basically all you have to do. Anything you find on earth, you can relate. Oh, it's up there somewhere. Anything, literally anything is there.
Is it possible? Is it possible? I'm just speculating. It's not carved in stone, obviously. But is it possible when when the Oramus and everything was used in the ancient Kemet, when they were doing the process within the pyramids, and they were leaving their bodies like an out of body experience, and they hovered up and then they came down. Is it possible that in re-entering, they brought other forms of spirits back with them? And do you get what I'm saying?
In the later periods, definitely.
Yeah, because maybe the intention was good. Maybe the intention wasn't to rule over the planet in any shape or form. But if these entities managed to enter this kingdom, if you will, that's when it got a bit hairy, and things maybe started to. Is it possible?
Well,
I mean,
yes,
really.
it is. But they wouldn't accidentally bring them in. They'd bring them in on purpose, purposefully to do what they wanted to do in order to keep everyone suppressed. So they had a beautiful life and everybody else was a slave to that life. It's the only way people can be rich is to enslave the poor underneath them. That it's the only way. The golden age, there was none of that.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, during that period, reference to the ascension experience or contact with the is it the Shekinah? Did I pronounce that? Shekinah, yeah. So they use this method of ascending for a limited, it was a little private club, which majority of people were not included.
Yes, it was a private club. They were the Illuminati, and it was kept within their structure. You couldn't enter it unless you were actually born into it. That's basically what it was, and they kept it all for themselves. Now, in reference to, I think you're talking about demons and one thing and another. Demons didn't exist until the Catholic Church came into being. And they created this horrible place they called hell. And they said it was populated with demons of all sorts. If you do this demon's responsible for it. If you do this wrong in life, this other demon's responsible for it. And because as above, so below, they then created from the negative force, which is not evil, it's feminine. It's not evil, it just sounds negative because the word negative has been corrupted from its original meaning, which is feminine. Masculine is positive. Feminine is always seen as negative, but it's not. It's a positive thing, even though it is negative. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Now, these forces have always existed in potential. But when the Catholics got in, they saw an opportunity to enslave the people by creating these negative energies. The ordinary priest wouldn't know anything about this, but the inner sanctum of the Catholic Church knew exactly what it was doing, and they created hell. And they created all the demons that existed. And not only that, they enslaved the black angels who are now free, and they became the lesser demons. And the reason why they changed their shape from the beautiful black angels that they are into the horrible demons they become? Well, because they didn't want to be there and they were enslaved, and their resentment at being put there came out in the twisted forms of their bodies and their faces. And what they did was what they were told they had to do. Now, I released them the other week, and they transformed back into their beautiful selves, and they're now out in the world. They're out in the world doing what they did before. They stamp on negative, which, as we've discussed, isn't evil. It's just feminine. Anything like that is out of balance, the black angels will step in and alter it. The white angels deal with the good things that are out of balance. You see, if you know the Kabbalah, you've got the central pillar, then you've got the left-hand pillar and the right-hand pillar. The left-hand pillar is negative and the right-hand pillar is positive. But the way that we become the Christ and the way that the Creator is the middle pillar. Now you stray from the middle pillar either way and you create an imbalance. So the opposite then comes and it redresses that back to balance. This is what's called karma. This is all karma is really, is the universe trying to maintain balance. And all the strife in the world is caused by imbalances that are made by people who don't know any better. Once we get to the golden age again, these imbalances will just disappear. And the people will go left and right just to experience it. You see, so that's basically what's here. But like I said, the Catholics, and I believe it was Santos who actually said that it may not be him. I don't know. I can't remember. But someone said that demons didn't exist until the Catholic Church invented them. And now they're still with us, but they're going to go. We can't remain any higher than Kali Yuga.
So, like most things...
this is why the clip-off is so small. If you know the Kabbalah, the tree of evil is called clip-off. Okay. Now, at some point, I want to show you this, the clip-off. I've got it somewhere in my papers, and it actually lists what demon is where on the clip-off. But we shouldn't study too closely the clip-off because of the dangers that are there. You're always told not to go too deep into it because you will lose your mortal soul, and that's what happens. On the clip-off, anything that is evil and bad descends the clip-off. Now, this will answer another question you asked me the other day. What's going to happen in the future? Well, these people are going down the clip-off, which eventually is going to disappear because it can't exist in the higher mental sphere that we are now. They're going down the clip-off, and right at the bottom of the clip-off is annihilation. That's where they are just totally destroyed. They're not even allowed to exist beyond physical matter. The whole of their being is destroyed, and they become a non-entity. They don't exist anymore. So death for them really does end when they die. For people who don't go down the clip-off, obviously when you die, you go back to source. You become what you were. And you only become the soul that you were this life. You only take that on as you come in. Do you want me to explain how I said we come into existence? I was telling you about this the other day. Yeah. This is another revelation I had. Yeah. Now, when the egg is fertilized, the sperm enters the egg. that's when the etheric body joins the fetus. That comes in, it's there. Later on in the process, as we grow, when we first become recognizable as a human being in the mother's womb, that's when the astral body connects with the baby. Now, we as an intelligence, we're orbiting around them. We've chosen them in the first place, but we orbit around them until the actual time when we have to come in. We know when it is. The mother doesn't, the baby doesn't. Now, when she's given birth, the baby comes out of the body, and what's the first thing it does? It takes breath. That's when we enter that body and we become a whole new human being. And a lot of people have said, why don't we remember our past lives? And it's really simple, this, and you'll see it as soon as I say it. That brain in that baby is brand new. It knows nothing. So we go in, we take on that form. Like I said to you the other day, the path of the Empress on the Tree of Life, that when you come through that from source, it stamps on your very soul that you will obey your nature. And your nature is given to you when you come through Hotmar, which is where the zodiac wheel is. And remember, it's forever turning. It never stops. The wheel never stops. The planets never stop moving. As you come into that body, whatever was in the heavens at the time becomes your ego. Now, we go on about devil. Rob touched on this as well, and he's perfectly correct. The devil in life, if you want to see the devil, just go and have a look in the mirror. And there you will see the devil. The devil is the ego, because the ego stands between you and your creator. Once you master the ego, and this is where astrology comes in, the first commandment to the creation on its birth is, man, know thyself. Now, how do we know ourselves? By understanding astrology and understanding our birth condition. This is what you've been given that will enable you to grow in this life. And hope what you promise to do as well when you come in is to raise the oil and bring back the Christ onto the earth for the greater glory of the Creator. We all say this when we come in. Very few actually manage to do it because it is so difficult. But the new method I gave last time works perfectly, and it's a lot easier. We don't need all this other clutter that's been put on. That was for Kali Yuga. Now we're in Dwapara. All we need to do is let go of ourselves, and the God being will come and live within you.
So, how does your method offer a safer alternative?
Oh, it's not safer. It's just easier because you don't have to starve yourself, which is good for me, as you can probably tell. I don't like starving. You don't have to give up any vices you've got. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Believe me, I'm at the Christ level. I've got all sorts of vices, and I do them, and they don't affect me at all. Back in Kali Yuga, they would have done, but we're not there anymore. We're in Dwapara. We're in the Bronze Age now. So nothing from Kali can affect us unless we bring it in. We have to let go of what's gone. And this is where Neptune entering Aquarius came in. Neptune is the higher mind. He is the higher expression of Venus. And what he brings in are visions and truths of the beyond. That's his main dealing. Now, he cleared the way. We're now on a blank page and we're writing the future as we go along. But if we keep bringing back the past, saying, no, we can't do this because of what happened then, then you're denying yourself your own godship, because you will be blocking the new age which is coming, that says everything that's gone in the past doesn't matter anymore. Forget that. Look now only to the present and the future. This is what we've been told, and this is what we must do. This is why this method I've come in with is a lot easier. You don't need to starve yourself. You don't need to go without this, without that, or the other. What you have to do, which is as hard, if not harder than the old method, is actually give up yourself. And that is a hard thing to do. That is so hard. Yeah.
This is what. Thank you, lovely one. This is why I was saying. Let me just elaborate what I meant by safer, because this is more of a remembrance. It's not a certain act. You're not seen to do anything, but it's a remembrance where it invites you to rise naturally and safely with grace, because you're not actually ingesting anything. This is purity at its best. There's no real side effects to it. It's not like you're going to have.
I've heard of people, and there are methods. There's a yogic method of raising the oil, and I've seen parts of it, and it looks very violent to me, what they're doing to themselves. Oh, it looks awful. Now, a lot of people have actually done this and got the oil back into the cerebrum, and they've had terrible experience with it. And it's gone after a short period of time. And they said, I'll never do that again. It was awful. Because they've tried to force it, it has to come naturally. Now, I say we shouldn't we should forget the past, but it's always there as a reference. If you forget your past totally, you're condemned to repeat it, basically. So it's always there, but you should never say, oh, we can't do that because we did this in the past. Now everything's changed. We've got to find a new way, and then it can be compared to the past and say, well, now look what we've changed it into. That's basically what we need to do now. I hope that's clear.
It is, and I feel that this is more accessible for humanity, because you don't have to be sitting in a particular. Because you said something profoundly powerful last time I interviewed you, reference to the word meditation, because you said I can meditate while walking, I can meditate while preparing food.
I do when I'm watching things. I watch a lot of films, but I will. If it doesn't grab me, I'll go off and I'll go off somewhere else. And it's a form of meditation. Rob does the same. He meditates with his eyes open. I've meditated like that. Oh, blimey. How many years have I done that for? As long as I can, really.
Brother, in not so many words, because words, as we know, has a lot of limitations, and it can create a lot of distortion, disharmony, disalignment, spelling, and all sorts of things. But in not so many words, we're saying the ultimate objective of taking human form is to become the Christ within. I mean, let's just not kid ourselves. There is a phenomenal objective that the human needs to reach, this level of being Christed. Because this is the ultimate. And what you're saying in not so many words, what you're sharing with us today fundamentally is a way of being Christed, and reference to the activation with this inner oil. It's like an ointment, but it's just remembrance, really. It's not. We're here to remember who we are. That's
you have to remember it now. As you were speaking, then I thought of another thing that I mean, I know that I didn't do anything evil, but by saying that you don't have to alter anything in your life that you're doing in order to raise the old by this new method, if you're a nasty person and you're doing horrible things to other people, or even if you're doing horrible things to yourself, then that will prevent you from achieving this method. I'm saying you must be at a certain level, and a certain level of intelligence you attain either by birthright or by studying the mysteries. Now, I studied Kabbalah. I've studied astrology since 2015. I've been an astrologer. But really, if you study Kabbalah, let me say to start with, there are many systems out there, and no one system is better than the other. What I found is I found Kabbalah the easiest for me, for my personality. I was gravitated to that. And you know, if you're say a Buddhist or whatever, a Taoist or whatever, that's perfectly fine. They are beautiful systems, and if that's what your soul is content to follow, don't change it. But what I'm saying is, if you are doing things that are wrong to other people and to yourself, like, for example, you're cutting yourself, you know, self-harm and what have you, or you're purposefully taking stuff to excess to do something horrible, then it won't work for you. You've got to be at a certain level of intelligence, and you get this, as I say, by birthright, which some people come in. I was one who came in with this as my birthright. I had it from the beginning, because as soon as I heard, I can remember when I was at
No, I was going to say it's written on the palms also.
That's right. And another thing is what I've noticed about my palm is ever since the 19th of March, when I transitioned into a Christ consciousness, my palm is slightly changing. Because I mean, I'm no palmist, but I have studied palmistry just out of interest in knowing what's on my hand. I couldn't see someone else's hand and give them a really good reading of themselves, because I don't know enough, and I don't want to know enough. I've just done enough so I can understand my palm in some respects. Now, other people take palmistry to an amazing level, and it is amazing science. It's beautiful. That in itself is a way to retain your sanity and become a Christ through palmistry, through anything really that is a medium. Tarot, but Kabbalah encompasses astrology and tarot as part of its structure. They're all one and the same, but the three, each one individually, mirrors the tree in a different way. And by studying the tree of life in conjunction with the astrological wheel and the tarot cards, you get a deeper understanding of astrology for yourself and when you're actually interpreting it to other people.
If I may, brother, is there a difference? Because there's some people on the planet they claim to be an ascended master opposed to a Christed being. Is there a difference between the two?
Yes. Well, they've come to Earth for a specific reason. They're here to usher things in. I've never met one myself that I know of.
Yeah.
but they do exist and they do come in. Yes, you know, you can be talking to somebody at some point and then come away. I've done it myself. That person, there's something wrong with that person. And they can be a minor demonic form that's actually taken form as a human being to get into your head and turn you around. This is also true. I don't know whether other people have had this experience. I've had it only once or twice in my life, and it unnerved me, I must say. And now looking back on it, that's what I see was actually happening, is that some entity from another realm was coming to this one to try and derail what I was doing. But they also the same is with good masters who come in, and they may be around for a few days. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but they come in to bring about certain things or to stop certain things. So does that answer that question?
Yeah, if I just one more, if I may, reference to do with being Christed. Are there many more, or any other Christed beings as we speak?
Good Lord, yes. There's
What
many.
numbers are we talking? What numbers can you throw? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot like this, but what intuitively, obviously you can't say like 100% maybe, because, you know, but intuitively, what numbers were you thinking of? And the other thing is, if I may as well, intuitively, what do you feel is the population of the world right now? Because I don't want to sidetrack on this too much, but because you keep hearing a lot of people throwing this at your face. I don't mean your face per se, but generally people say, oh, the world's population is 8 billion people, whatever. It never stuck with me, that number. Far from it. I never thought that the numbers were so large. But let's just play along with this. Let's say if the world's population was just say 1 billion, as we speak, where do you feel that in terms of percentage, do you feel that a large proportion of this 1 billion will be Christ conscious, or do you feel 10%, 5%, 20%? Is there a period, a window, now, next week, in a month's time, end of the year, where the numbers will explode, or is it exploding as we speak? What's happening, bro?
You are putting me on the spot now. This is
I'm
one thing
anxious.
I don't actually know the actual answer to any of those questions, other than to say I would have thought the number of Christs in the world at the minute would be in the hundreds rather than in, below 10. I would have thought, because you see, you've got a lot of people out in India, a lot of people out in Nepal, is it, where Buddhism, anyway, and somewhere else in the world where they value spirituality more than we do in the West. So out there will be lots and lots of people who have achieved it, become Christ conscious. I'm not the singular one. I'm not just one who's, like Jesus was sent to earth. That's all rubbish. It's something that you do yourself. Now, as far as the population of the earth is concerned, again, I don't know. But it's a question you've asked, and I will ponder that. And at some point in the future, I'll probably come back to you with a number. I usually get answers pretty quick, but I'm not getting any at the minute because I'm talking too much. What was the other one? Or was that
that was pretty much it, brother, because what I was feeling as well while we're having this wonderful, stimulating conversation is, when two or more gather and they create a very powerful trinity, is this, when we're sharing sacred space right now, where our intention is 100% pure, our listeners I trust, is feeling this how we're radiating this frequency. What I'm saying in not so many words is this activation that's taking place at the moment. When you become Christed, and again, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you not have a connection, a grander connection to other Christed beings, maybe telepathically? You know, so you don't need a phone to phone another Christed person. So you're not going to pick up the phone and speak to someone. Do you not have an intuitive connection to other Christed beings?
Not that I know of, but that could change.
Right. Okay. Because
I'm not aware of it, because I have one purpose. Each Christ, when he becomes a Christ, has a purpose. Now, my purpose is to bring knowledge of the Christ to the Western world. This is why I gave out my birth details in the last podcast. I'll reiterate them again if you want, so people can actually look, because this is what I've come here for, and I've been made a Christ for, is to show people what actually happens. And I could do another show on this.
But let's do that. Let's keep this one relatively short. But what I'm saying is, if it's okay with you, but here's one to end it on possibly as well. And this I want to say to our beautiful viewers, that when you're spending time with an elevated person, it's hard not to get elevated yourself. It's like if you're hanging around with someone whose act is to cause harm, you could get influenced. Sadly, I'm not saying everyone does, you know, but some, you know, it's like what the way people's temperament gets conditioned to a point, because especially if you're very young, you know, they get influenced, unfortunately, where they get into this messy place where they impose and cause harm, inflict pain, and blah blah blah. But now I can honestly vouch, hand on heart, to our beautiful listeners, having spent now a good fortnight almost with you. You are a game changer, and you are raising the frequency. I can hand on heart testify that. So what we're saying, if you hang around, and if you're blessed enough, as I am, to hang around with a Christed being, guess what? You're raising the game for that individual as well. And the chances are, if you're receptive, and I keep saying each time to you, my lovely brother, I'm always excited to be in your presence. The chances are I will hit that point sooner than later, shall we say?
Oh, you will. Oh, you will. I looked at your chart, Mush. I can
see. So it's great to create this amazing group right now and invite others to participate. And this conversation,
we're going to. Everyone who's tuned in today, and I don't know any of them. I don't think. Well, I do know a couple.
It's fine.
Anyone who's tuned in today will come under my protection. I don't do protection rituals anymore, because at the level of Christ, you are your own protection ritual. Now, what I do in order to help people is to extend that. Once I know them, I extend that over them. And like I said to you last night, I believe it was, you don't need to worry about protection ritual, because my ritual is extended over you, and it will be over everybody else. So, like I say as well, Kali Yuga, it's all gone. What was true then is still true in a sense now, but it's evolving. And when you become a Christ, that's what happens as well. You don't just see, I used to believe when you became the Christ, that was it. But it's not. You're born again. And that's why I gave out my second birth chart, which I went through on the 19th of March this year. And if people look at that chart, they will see that it is completely different to my original birth chart, except for, I think it's 3 areas. I still have the same ascendant. No, 2 areas, sorry. I have the same ascendant at the minute. At my birth, I was a Sagittarian ascendant, and I had moon in Scorpio in my original birth chart. The new one, I still have those 2 placings. And the reason why is because I have now become a Christ consciousness, but I'm still in the same body. Everything else has changed. Pisces, I'm now Pisces. That's because I came from Virgo. Virgo, everything, when you become a Christ, inverts.
Yeah.
And you become the opposite of yourself. And you would think that everything in your birth chart would change, but those things stay constant. Anyone who goes through this process, I advise them to look at astrology. And even if you don't become an expert, become aware of your birth chart so that when you do transform, you can look at your new birth chart and see exactly what's happened to yourself. Because I'm still learning, I'm growing. I'm still what? I'm now 27 days into it, I believe.
Yeah.
I have now entered my sun period. You know, you go through 7-year cycles, Moon, Mercury, Venus, then you went your sun period at 21. I'm now at 27 days. So I'm within my sun period.
Yeah.
That's when I've become what I should become. And I will now stay at this maintenance level for three cycles, 21 days. But I get a feeling that it's going to be a lot longer with me, because after you come out of your sun period, for 7 years you go through a Mars period, then a Jupiter period, then a Saturn period, a Uranus period, a Neptunian period, and then a Pluto period right at the end of your life, which is in the 90s. This is why people get a little bit confused, because they're demonstrating Pluto. If you live beyond the Pluto stage, what happens is you do it all over again, and you go into the moon stage where you're a baby. How many old people, really old people, I'm talking about over 100 years, over 90-year-old, who have become like children again?
Yeah.
That childlike persona on them, and it's because they're going through the moon period again. It doesn't just end when you come out of a Pluto period. It can end wherever. But wherever you are, you will take on the aspects of the period that you're actually going through.
Beautiful,
It's
brother.
complicated, but it's simple. It is simple.
Well, if I can
say, when you were speaking last time, I pulled a funny face, and I weren't pulling it at you. Jack's just dropped one. And it's not pleasant.
Good old Jack.
He does it regular. He's a little devil. Oh dear.
If I may, yesterday I had an interview with Dave Shearer, and I ended the show with this: rebirth, guiding us into clear awareness, one soul at a time. Stay rooted in gratitude and forgiveness. These are powerful frequencies that dissolve chaos and restore clarity. You are chosen for this time to anchor light, hold it steady for yourself and for others. That's still awakening. Let each truth move us closer to freedom, and know this truth is love, and love is the highest form of disclosure. And brother, I would put hand on my heart and say every cell in your body right now is showering the world with love, and we truly honor you, we respect you, and and Jack, and lovely Jack, of course, mustn't forget Jack. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll share the link. Obviously, it's live on YouTube as well, and I will put it on our radio channel.
Picture of me, look, that's a pretty picture of me. Don't I look gorgeous?
Yeah, you both look good.
No, sorry, I got that wrong. Back to the ugly old self. Never mind.
No. But brother, I take it we'll get the opportunity to connect very soon, and I'm sure another episode is brewing, and I look forward to your divine messages that will, I'm sure, come my way sooner than later. But on that note, from Bioactivator, oops, Jack, was that Jack or was that Dad?
That was me. I blow bubbles on his. He's loving me now. He puts his head on my chest and loves me. Don't he? He wants Beautiful. A belly rub. He wants a belly rub.
Bless you both. Take care, brother. And we'll see you soon. To our beautiful viewers as well. Much love.
Thank you very much, Barrett. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, brother.
You. See you next time, because there will be a next time.
Absolutely. And to our beautiful viewers out there. Peace, love, and
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and